Hold the mushroom soup. This pheasant pot pie recipe perfectly doubles as a comforting meal on a cold day and chilling in your freezer for a future date. Marketing coordinator Cayla Bendel shares a simple process for your next favorite wild game recipe. I'm Mike Anderson with the North Dakota Game and Fish Department.
Today we're gonna make pheasant pot pie, which might be my favorite recipe if I had to pick one. Just really like pie crust, and increasingly with how much we upland hunt, we always have plenty of pheasants in the freezer. So it's a nice warm meal to come home to. A little bit of work, but you can always pop one in the freezer and then just put it in the oven when you get home. So we're gonna make the pie crust from scratch today. If you're short on time or pie crust isn't your thing, you can always use store-bought crust. To make crust, you're gonna just need flour, water, salt, and then I was recently gifted some local lard, so we're gonna use lard, but you could also use shortening or butter. In my experience, shortening is probably the easiest to work with. Butter's probably the hardest to work with, but then also kind of results in the most flavor, and lard's kind of in between. Then for the filling, you're gonna need 2 pheasant breasts, onion, carrots, and celery if you like celery. We don't really like it that much, so I'm gonna skip it. Peas, flour, chicken broth, heavy cream, butter, and salt and pepper. First, I'm gonna mix together the pie crust and just let it chill for a little bit. It's a little bit easier to work with when it's cold. And while it's chilling, then we can make our filling, and then we'll roll out our pie crust, put the filling in, and put the top on. So to make the pie crust, you just need to blend the flour, whatever fat you're using, whether that's lard, shortening, or butter, and salt really well together, and then we'll add the water at the end. You can always add more water. Obviously, you can't take water out, but I've found the most success with adding all your water at once. So I'm gonna do 8 tablespoons. Also the ice cubes in there because you want cold water. Again, just the colder the dough, the easier it is to work with. At this point, I'm going all hands. So we're just gonna let this chill in the freezer for a few minutes while we work on our filling, and then we'll roll it out. So we're just gonna cut our pheasant breasts into like little chunks, little pieces. Maybe I've mentioned this when we've used pheasant before, but really with any of my wild game, the better job you can do cutting out some of those tendons, or just whether there's obviously a BB, but a bloody spot, really just anything like that, I think helps just make it a lot higher quality dish. You don't bite into that when you bite into a piece of pheasant. Now we're gonna put our butter in the skillet, let it melt for a minute, and then we'll put our onions, carrots, and pheasant, and celery if you're using that as well, and let it cook for about 8 to 10 minutes till that pheasant looks cooked all the way through. We're not gonna put the peas in till the end. Once you feel like your pheasant is pretty much cooked through, you can add the flour and kind of mix it around. Okay, then you're gonna add the chicken broth and cream, and then just let it cook till it starts to get bubbly and thickens up. While we let the filling cool a little bit, we can roll out the bottom crust of our pot pie. So you are gonna need a little bit of extra flour for this step, and I'll try to break our pie dough roughly in half, maybe a little more than half, because the bottom crust is gonna take a little bit more. And you just want to roll a little bit and then flip it and put more flour so it doesn't stick. If you roll it all in one go, then it's going to be stuck to whatever you're rolling on. Once this is close to being cooled down, you can dump the peas in. Yeah, you just don't want them to get too mushy. You just want it not like hot off the stove, so it doesn't start to cook the pie crust at all, but once it's mostly cooled, you can dump it into your bottom crust. Roll out your other half of your dough to make the top crust. If you'd like, you could put like an egg wash on top too. It gets at that kind of brown crispiness. Oftentimes when I'm making this, I'll make multiples because it's just kind of labor intensive. So you can always pop them in the freezer. And then it's an easier weeknight meal because you're probably not going to do this on a weeknight. So then you can just thaw it out in the fridge the day before, or if you're going to cook it frozen, just add maybe 15-20 minutes to that cook time. Or obviously you can bake it fresh.